I don't think there's ever a typical, like I don't know that I've ever done the exact same activities day after day after day here, and I certainly haven't had like repeat days. It totally varies. I think that's probably part of the great part about it, is I don't have to do the same thing every day. What you can definitely guarantee is there's always cleaning. It's always very physical. I'm always moving stuff around. My first job was in housekeeping, so I'd like to think I've been training for this forever. I actually knew nothing about anything when I started working here. So I've kind of learned everything from the very beginning. So a lot of my days is building these systems. I didn't realize that cider making was a lot of clamp building. I feel like if you liked erector sets or Legos, you would really enjoy this. So I definitely enjoy this part of it. I worked at a summer camp, and I met this British girl, and she kind of became my best friend over the summer. And then I went to go visit her in the fall after that summer. And I think that was the first time where I had cider on tap. I had no idea that was an option at all. I don't think it had really gained much traction in the States yet. So I think that, I guess it ended up being the reason that I work here, maybe. I found this place online, and I was just so excited, and everything I had from us was really good, the way I wanted to drink cider, and I just kind of became a regular after that. Colorado Cider was having their first year anniversary, so I made them a cake made out of glider cider, which is kind of our flagship cider. I think they thought it was just me being really nice, but secretly I was I'm hoping that this cake will lead me into working here maybe. So it was definitely, I was trying to get a job probably at that point. Meanwhile, I also volunteered. So I told him, I was I'll work in the tasting room, I'll do whatever. I'll volunteer for festivals. I did a lot of festivals. And then it got to the point where anytime I had a tasting room shift, I would also be what else could I be doing? So I labeled for a while. We used to label bottles one at a time. So it was a real tedious process. And eventually, this is some of the best advice I ever gotten. I was talking to my cousin and her husband about the cider, and I was just I really like it there. I'd really like to work there. And her husband said to me, "Do they know that? Have you told them that?" And I was "No, but I'm always there, and I'm always wanting to do this other thing." And he's No, you got to tell them. You got to tell them out loud. And so that was a huge revelation for me. So I think that next week I was hey, if you guys ever have a full-time position, I'd love to do it. Luckily, a full-time position opened up, and I started knowing absolutely nothing, and I still don't know a lot of things, but I think that's part of the fun. Cool. You should look at this sight glass. So that's me kind of bubbling the CO2 through it. Sight glasses are one of my favorite parts for obvious reasons. We're always kind of doing research and development. We're always trying other ciders that other people have made. But we've got these little containers that we'll use for test batches. That stuff is really fun, and that feels like kind of the experimental mad scientist part. Lots of mistakes are made during that process, definitely. Things that we try and we're just oh no, we can't do this. But sometimes there's really good things. Actually, Radler is probably the best example, the most recent one, where we are using lemongrass and lemon balm. That's the other thing I think I like that what we're doing. Anytime we're putting, if we say it has lemongrass and hops, it has the actual lemongrass and hops. It's we're not using some sort of weird extract. Like, we're actually make giant tea bags and put it in the cider and let it sit with it and infuse. We got a little bit of the sludge that we don't really want, but what are you gonna do? I am constantly hosing things off. So I feel like if you're into hosing things off and squeegeeing, cider making could be the job for you. Which I totally am. That's not even sarcastic. I would love to squeegee. Paperwork. So I got a Bachelor of Fine Arts with a concentration in ceramics. I essentially picked a college that was big enough, but still had in-state tuition, and their facilities were great. I pretty much went into that degree knowing that I might not end up being a working artist when I was done, but it was the easiest way to kind of learn what I wanted to learn and the atmosphere that had the most things available to me. So from there, I found out that this bakery was hiring, and I had never really baked or decorated anything. So I kind of learned from the beginning there as well. And luckily, a lot of the kind of tangible hand building skills translated into cake decorating. So I did that for quite a while. I worked at a bakery, I think, for almost 5 years, and then moved out to Colorado, continued to work in bakeries because I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed a lot of aspects of it. I got a lot into fondant and hand building, and like even stacking and tiering cakes is really pretty fun for me. What I didn't like as much is most of the general business from cake decorating is weddings, and I just never really cared for weddings. And you're supposed to go into consultations with brides and be very excited about what they're doing, and I just could never really get into it. So the bakery I was working at, circumstantially also ended up closing. And that is when I kind of ran into the cidery and realized that I wanted to work here. I still definitely like cake decorating, but I'm also happy to not have to do it every day. I can't say for sure that this job won't turn into that same thing where I'm like, cider making was great, but I'm happy to not do. I don't know yet. I've been here 6 years now, and so far I'm still really excited about what's happening. I've been pretty lucky with all the opportunities because I really haven't, I have no background in any of these things I've done. Like cake decorating, I'd never baked. And then I ended up working for this small shop where I was baking things from scratch, which is awesome. That's the way I think things should be done. So I would say I followed less of like a linear path of I've trained for this and now I'll go do this job. It's more been, I found out this place that's doing things the way I think they should be done, and I'm going to help them do them. Really, that's been it for me. That's kind of my motto lately.